We have to find good ways and angles to talk about things like ethics in more interesting ways, right?
It's a very worthy subject.
It is.
We got to
keep it legit and continue to bring value to our audience as well, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast, a bi-weekly discussion of best practices, latest trends, and modern techniques for professional business communication, including advertising, marketing, digital channels, social media, public relations, and alternative options.
Good morning, Pritch. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Kyle. How about yourself?
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Excited to have a conversation with you here on the podcast, the Neo Marketing Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about two different subjects. They may not seem like they go together, but there's a perfect reason I'm talking about them together.
Okay.
Women
Yes.
in the workforce.
Yes.
And ethics.
And ethics.
Yes.
Good. Our favorite subject.
Right. I love talking about ethics, and
Yep.
we have great conversations about it. We've talked about it many times on the podcast. A little bit
Indeed.
different angle today.
Yeah, cool. Let's
So
go.
people might think, like, what are these two dudes talking about women in the workforce for, right? So coming up this month, the 20th of this month, our local BBB, the Better Business Bureau of serving Central Oklahoma, is having an inaugural award event that is the Revere and Revel Women in the Workplace Awards ceremony.
Okay, that's a mouthful.
So
but
that's how we got talking on the subject.
Yeah.
They've asked us to sponsor, and we said yes, of course.
Cool.
Of the Woman of Integrity Award. Now, integrity is a great
Yep.
word and a great value, right, for
Right.
anyone in business or in personal life.
Right.
So, yes, sponsoring an award about integrity, I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
So, of course, we said yes,
Absolutely.
which gives us a great reason to talk about these things on the podcast, right?
Sure. As if we needed an excuse.
Well, it's just a good reason.
That's a good tie-in.
We've done 130 episodes.
Holy smokes.
We have to have reasons.
Right.
We have to find good ways and angles to talk about things like ethics.
Well, this
in
is
more
a-
interesting ways, right?
It's a very worthy subject.
It is.
And a worthy cause.
We got to keep it legit and continue to bring value to our audience as well, right?
Yeah. Hope so.
So, folks, it's 2021. I really don't know why we're still having a conversation about the value of women in the workforce, the value of professional women, and being a part of business and economics, because it's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Women are slightly more than half the population of the planet
Yep.
and should absolutely be half the population of the workforce.
Absolutely.
The ideas of a woman can't do that because her brain doesn't work that way or her body doesn't work that way is so very 1900, 1800,
Right.
1600, 1200,
Right.
not 2021.
Right. Exactly.
And so I find it interesting that we still have to have these conversations.
I do too. I think it's ridiculous that we still have to have
It
these
is.
conversations.
But that's exactly, though, why when the BBB asked if we wanted to be a part of this event and if we wanted to sponsor this award, I said, absolutely yes. Let's go ahead and continue to push back on these ideas that there's some sort of massive difference or gap or shortcoming between men and women when it comes to employment, when it comes to being a professional, working on a job, in a team,
Yeah.
being a valued member of society, contributing, all of these things. It's really, really silly to think that there's too much of a difference between men and women and that there's something you would just say, well, women can't do that.
Well, but there are many areas where women are better than men.
Absolutely. Right?
Absolutely.
They certainly are.
So let's knock this talk off.
Because bracing the differences, right?
Yeah.
There are differences between men and women. There's nothing wrong with saying that either.
No, I
Too
don't
many
think
people
so.
get really uptight about trying to point out that there's a difference between men and women. And there is, and that's perfectly fine. In fact, that's something to be celebrated, right?
Embrace it.
We talk about diversity a lot in business, and you and I really like to focus on the diversity of thought,
Yep,
of the
absolutely.
diversity of background, the diversity of experience, of style.
Yep.
All of the things, when you can't just say diversity in the way people look, because it's very superficial.
Right.
The same reason you can't say how someone looks because they're male or female, because they're white, black, or other, because they're tall or short, because all of those superficial things is a silly reason to say someone can do a job or not do a job.
Absolutely.
The same thing goes with if you're going to actually embrace diversity, you should look at the fact that there are differences between male and female, And that's a good thing. That's something to be celebrated because it can contribute. It can add to your team, to your business, to whatever you're working on. Having that variety of experience and background and even the style of delivery is valuable. It's a good thing.
You get your worst product when you put a bunch of like-minded people in a room.
Oh, absolutely.
And so what you get is groupthink.
That's right.
And that's not what we're about. That's not what we're advocating.
That's the opposite of innovation.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Challenging the system is how you innovate. That comes from people coming at things from different viewpoints,
absolutely,
different backgrounds, experience, and that's exactly why I wanted to participate in this event and sponsor this award. I want to challenge the system, and not in a burn it all down and start over kind of way, but hey, folks, we know the rules, and so we're going to break the rules. We're going to tell you that these old ideas are just that old. And the way to move forward, the way to be successful, to be operating in 2021, 2022, 2025, etc., is to throw all that away. And instead of thinking about this is a man's job, this is a woman's job, think about who is the best individual based on their experience, their skill set, their talents, their aptitude, their attitude, etc., for a position in your business.
Absolutely. Acknowledge and embrace.
Right. So diversity comes in a variety of packages. You need to embrace all of them if you're truly going to be diverse. And then if you are going to have that attitude, that open-mindedness, selecting candidates or putting people in position, putting people in authority, et cetera, based on who they are, not what they look like, then the opportunity to be successful is very, very apparent.
Absolutely.
Now, when it comes to talking about, again, two dudes talking about ladies in the work place, right?
Right.
Who wants to hear that? Well, because we are influenced by women that we work with and women in our life.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, November of 2011 is when the Golden Group started. I was leaving my last corporate job and decided I was never going back to corporate work ever again. Who do you think was the first person I talked to before making that decision, while making that decision, and immediately after that decision?
I'm guessing it was your bride.
It was my wife, Cher, yes. And someone who I probably talk more business with than anyone else on the planet is my wife, Cher.
Right.
Brilliant business mind, although she had worked almost her entire career in nonprofit. But
leadership is leadership.
Leadership and management and running an operation is all included in all of that. So I have a ton of conversations every single day about business theory, business strategy, tactics, all of those things that we do on a regular basis. I have those conversations with my wife, and she gives me great advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it goes back to that different perspective.
Yep.
Because she has a more nonprofit background than I. She has a different perspective, but she also has a different delivery method. She has a different style of operating.
Yep.
So there's so much benefit to me to having that sounding board that happens to be the opposite sex.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the same thing happens to me. If I've got tough decisions to make or I'm just, at sixes and sevens, I talk to my bride. And
there you go.
She gives me great advice,
now,
which I usually follow.
And my wife, Cher, was original member of the Golden Group. She was part of the group part. She decided that she wanted to remain in her nonprofit position there, and so she did some consulting for us, and then eventually she decided that I get on her nerves, and so she would rather work in a different place so that when we are together at home, we're not on top of each other all the time. So, and it's worked out well for us the last 10 years, and so I'm happy to have her as a sounding board without having her, because trust me, I can't, if I said the word employee, she would wince at that, and she wouldn't be an employee. She would be a partner.
Right.
But she still acts as a partner when it comes to the participation and just my thought process and how I've developed myself over the last 10 years.
Of course.
But the second person I called when I decided to put together the Golden Group, it wasn't the Golden Group yet, it was the thing I was going to do after leaving corporate for the last time, was our business partner, Felicity Mormon.
Yeah, okay.
The reason I call Felicity, not because she was a female, because she was a brilliant business mind who was also looking to do something different than what she was doing at that time.
Right.
So that was the focus, was someone I thought I could work with and we could bring different things to the situation. Specifically different aspects because, my background is heavily in marketing on the creative side and music business before that. Felicity is an attorney,
Right.
By licensing, by education, but her focus at that time and still to this day was emerging technology. She didn't want to be an attorney. She wanted to work in the business world, focusing on technology and operations. So my marketing background and her operations background was a different combination than probably most people expected from me, because I was so heavily invested in marketing at that time.
Right.
I didn't want to have another ad agency. I didn't want to be Mad Men 2.0.
Right.
Because honestly, I never appreciated the ad agency model when I was the client.
Right.
I found it to be antiquated. So I didn't want to do that. And there was a ton of competition. There was a ton of people already doing that. So why would I do that as well, right? Why jump into a red ocean when I could jump into a blue ocean,
Right.
which of course is what we do, which is business development, strategy, all the things that we focus on instead of pure hard marketing and advertising.
Right.
So having someone with a different background and different experiences, different skill set, automatically led me down a different path to create something different. Be disruptive a little bit and just have a different offering in the market that I didn't think existed at the time. Then, of course, we eventually added Sean Hawley, who is our systems specialist, again, someone with a completely different set of skill sets again. And then eventually we got Mr. Pritchard, the professor, PRSA fellow and APR, to come on board with us a few years later, of course, handling the aspects of communication, leadership, et cetera, that you bring to the table. Again, different with your background, career military, your background in education, your hyper focus on PR. You know, I have a degree in PR and I do a little bit. You're the man. You bring a different perspective altogether again. Yeah. So it goes back to, it doesn't matter, male or female. What matters is what you bring to the table,
right.
how you participate in the team, in the dynamic, and how we overall achieve success.
Absolutely.
So the second half of this conversation is, the word is called the woman of integrity. Okay, so we've talked about being a woman or being female,
right.
and the fact we're not female, but we appreciate them being in the workforce,
right.
and bringing different things to the table for us.
What did the BBB set up as their criteria for that award?
Well, that's an interesting thing to ask me that. Let me see if I can read this here exactly to tell you correctly. At BBB, serving Central Oklahoma's first annual Revere and Revel, women will join their advocates to learn together, to cultivate leadership skills, and to stand on core values to engage in discussions of topics that matter. Core values of topics that matter.
Nice.
Integrity is absolutely a core value that matters.
It should be in everybody's operating scheme.
For sure. Now, integrity it's a great word, but I think a lot of people associate integrity with more of a personal trait, integrity, value, where a lot of people, when we start talking about ethics, especially business ethics, feels like a big structured concept, a business concept, if you will. I find these things to all be interchangeable. Is at the end of the day, doing the right thing because it's the right thing is what this comes down to. You know, the definition of character, right? What you do when no one's looking.
Right.
All of these things are the same basic tenets of integrity, value, of character, or of ethics.
Right. Well, an organization is made up of people, and people have their own ideas and ethical standards, but then that translates when you get them all together in the organization. You know, what they are is what you are.
Businesses have ethics because businesses are comprised of human beings.
Yes, absolutely.
Human beings work within the business. The business does business with other groups of human beings, whether it's B2B or to consumers. At the end of the day, it's human beings creating something of value and then selling it, providing it, et cetera, to other human beings who see the value in it. So the key is human to human.
Human to human.
And so that's why having integrity or having high ethical standards is beneficial to everyone in that process.
Absolutely.
So one of the aspects of the BBB, of any BBB, right, of the National Organization for the Better Business Bureau, is business ethics.
Right.
We're a member of the BBB, not because we need help with our business ethics, but because we believe in the value of holding high business ethics.
Absolutely.
That's the reason that we are a member of the BBB, and that's the reason that we're participating in this particular program as well.
Yep.
We're not just talking about it here on the podcast, folks. We believe this. We walk the walk as much as we talk the talk on this as well.
Yep.
So I'm going to tell you guys, give you a few bullet points as to the value created for your business by always being as ethical and keeping your ethical standards as high as possible. And push back on some misconceptions or things that people kind of get wrong about ethics. So first and foremost is your ethics, your business ethics, is one aspect of business you have complete control over.
Okay.
Competition, you don't have control over.
Right.
The market, pricing,
Right.
the economy, government, these are things that happen to and around your business that you have no control over.
Right.
But the ethical decision-making process, you have 100% control over.
How you operate your company.
So what's better than something you have control over and that has the potential to create value for your brand that demonstrates your value to your consumer or to your business partners?
Yep, and people are paying a lot of attention to that here.
Yes, they
over
are.
the last 4 or 5 years.
Certainly, and consumers, especially the younger that they are, the idea of who the people are behind the business and what they stand for as individuals, their ethics, their integrity, etc., is a huge part of the decision-making process to do business with someone. So doing things in the right way at all times is something that is sustainable.
Yes.
You have control of the process, which
Yep.
means you can sustain the process.
Yep.
And if you've established a brand presence, you have relationships with people you do business with, hopefully repeatable business, which is your best form of business, all you have to do is continue to keep the standards that you've already established. It's something that you have control over and is sustainable.
Absolutely.
Focusing on your business ethics, especially at the top, the leadership level, and then making sure that it is demonstrating all the way through to the most entry-level employee is a big picture thought process.
Very strategic.
It's not something that's going to sell an extra widget today.
Right.
It's not about dollars and cents. Can we make a buck more? Can we charge more? Can we spend less on it?
Right.
It's not about any of that process. It's actually zero economics. But it is a big picture, again, build a brand, build business relationships, do all things that people expect of you. You could continue that, sustain it, and always be successful if you can just keep the standard that you've set for yourself that you have control over.
Exactly. And that goes everywhere. I mean, that goes to your hiring process, too. I mean, you
100%.
want people of integrity, right?
For sure, every single time. Now, there's some people who would try to argue. Maybe there's someone listening to the podcast right now. If you want to make this argument, you can try online. You hit us up on social media. I will win that argument. No, people will
But
tell
we'd
you
like
that.
to have it.
Well, here it is. The theory is there are times when there isn't a good ethical decision.
I'm sorry.
That's false, isn't it?
There are always good ethical decisions.
You are, again, 100% right. There is always an ethical option,
Absolutely.
including the option to not do
Right.
something that is proposed.
And this is weird for me to say, but absolutely true. Do nothing is an option.
That's right.
And it could be your most ethical option.
Much like the Hippocratic Oath, right?
Right.
First, do no harm.
First, do no harm.
If there's an opportunity for your business to participate in some way in the business process, but it could be harmful. It is unethical as far as your leadership team sees it. It goes against the ethics standards that you have set. It impugns the people's integrity doing it. Don't do it.
Right.
Now, the argument but maybe there's economic opportunity or some other opportunity there. Again,
It ain't about money.
that's right. Don't do it.
Right.
Because one slip, one failure, one backslide in your ethical standard can destroy 100 years of goodwill.
Absolutely. And it's a very slippery slope. So
And
if
it's
you
quick.
if you do it this way,
Yes.
if you slip once, you're likely to slip again.
That's right.
And then pretty soon, all that goodwill that you built up, it's
Gone. It's out the window.
It's
And
gone.
you can't get it back.
Oh, you might, but it's going to take you a century.
But it puts you in a situation where you are in complete control
Yeah.
of opinions of you, of being able to say we live up to the standard. Now you're completely out of control.
Right.
And if the market, if your competitors, if others find this as an opportunity to gain market share on you, or even worse, again, the situation is completely out of your control because you made a bad decision that will reflect on you forever. People will forget the good stuff. They will not forget the bad stuff.
Well, I read something the other day that resonated with me is consumers don't forgive. They just figure out how much they're willing to deal with.
Right. And that's not the situation you want to be in.
No.
You want to be in a preferred situation. You want to be in, I like doing business with this brand. I prefer to do it. Not only that, I might refer other people. I might tell other people they should too. I might really be out selling your brand for you because I like the way you do business.
Yep.
Well, being unethical, having a lower ethical standard than that can easily even if it takes them back to, I might buy it, but I'm not going to brag about it. You've lost opportunity.
Absolutely.
Huge opportunity.
Huge.
So as you can see, the value of ethics is huge. It's something you can control. It doesn't cost you anything. And at the end of the day, that goes back to that argument. Maybe it cost you opportunities. Those were the opportunities you didn't want anyway.
That's right.
They were not something you needed, were not something that would be repeatable, sustainable. That's not how you build a successful business.
Right.
You might make $1 today,
Yeah.
but you will not make that same $1 tomorrow.
Right.
It will not work out for you. So that voice in the back of your head, your own personal integrity, your own personal values that says, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right.
It doesn't feel right.
Doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And you have the discussion of those around you respect and that participate in the same process with, does this feel right to you? Is this voice in the back of my head right or wrong? You have those conversations. If it doesn't feel right to you as a human being, it's not the right decision to make for your business. We just said human beings are the component of business. So as a human, if it makes you uncomfortable, if it makes you feel wrong, then as the consumer, as your customer, as someone who's going to do business with you, they might find it to be wrong as well too.
Yeah. They're not stupid.
At the end of the day, the best way to understand your audience, to do business, to be successful all around, is always to put yourself in your customer or consumer's shoe.
Absolutely.
Right? How do we sell this or market this? Well, let's ask them. Let's let the audience tell us what it is they want. The same thing ethically. Would our audience find this to be unethical or immoral or just lacking integrity?
Unjust.
To a point that would adjust their attitude towards us? Put yourself in their shoes. The same way that you would work this exercise to promote business and to build business is the same exercise you should do when you decide if you should be making these decisions that, as a human being, in the back of your head, you're like, I'm not really sure if this is right.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, your best opportunity to have a successful business is understanding your audience, what they want from you, what they expect from you, how to meet their expectations.
And what they value.
Right. But that doesn't just mean the product.
Right.
It just doesn't mean the price or the transaction. It means also the ethical standards of your business, the reputation of your business.
Yep.
Not just the product or service, but in the community, how you treat your employees, your vendors, your people that you collaborate with in the process. Everyone involved, because they're all, again, human beings.
Right.
If they all say, these people do it right, then people will be very comfortable with buying your product or service. And if there are people who say they always do it wrong, or they cut corners, or they aren't really concerned about this even though they say they are,
right,
then all the marketing in the world won't fix that. All of the paid ads, anything you want to spend time, money, and effort on won't fix that if that becomes your reputation.
Right, absolutely. We've talked about the apology impulse on this quite a bit, and one of the things that came through in that book was they identified two broad categories of failure. One was a operational failure. Kentucky Fried Chicken ran out of chicken in the UK. That's operational,
sure,
right? Cultural errors, though, are so difficult to solve.
Yes.
Because this is what we're talking about. Is your culture one of ethical integrity,
right,
or is it one of, Harvey Weinstein?
There you go.
Right?
Yes.
So, I think ethics have to be they are an incredibly important part of the company's operating structure.
So let's put these two pieces together. If you want a successful business with plenty of potential and opportunity, embracing everyone who is a potential employee or contributor to that process, male, female, and every other aspect of how you might judge individuals, look past that. Look to who they are, what they bring to the table, those conversations. Stop looking at people and pay attention to people.
Yep.
That's number one. Number two, hold yourself high integrity, hold your position and your job at ethical standards, and the potential to be successful will continue to walk out in front of you. Yep. If you let those things slide, if you are closed off to the idea of that person, these types of people can't work for us because of what they look like or what their gender is or any of those other superficial things, then that opportunity goes away from you. If you are looking to cut corners, if you're willing to do things that make you feel uncomfortable, that you know aren't the right thing because it's a quick buck or because you think you're out of options, again, those opportunities you created by doing things the right way now not only just go away, they actually drag you back down.
Right.
And where you end up, if you mess up these two items, the idea of being successful is right out the window.
Right. Absolutely.
And that we know that because all we have to do is put ourselves in the shoes of the people that we do business with.
All right.
You like how I pulled all that together?
I love it.
I just did that on the fly. I didn't know I was going to do that. I'm sort of impressed with myself, too. That was pretty good. So, folks, as we do on every episode, we want to hear from you. Yeah. We want to know what you liked, what you disliked, if you agree, disagree. If you disagree and think you can provide me an unethical situation I should say yes to, you go ahead and try.
Yeah, I'd like to
hear what you might try to come up with.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day, I'm going to beat you in the debate because we're right on that one. But I'd love to hear it anyways. We always like to hear the feedback.
Absolutely.
You guys, let us know what's going on. Of course, hit the subscribe buttons. Look for the notifications. Follow us on social media. Do all of that great stuff because we appreciate you and we don't want you to ever miss an episode of the Neo Marketing Podcast. Until next time, good luck.
Ciao.
This has been the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Tell a friend, leave a review, and engage with us on social media. Thanks for listening.